Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic, and we have a Love is Blind reunion. It's out of this world. And by the way, happy Halloween to everyone out there. Hold on to your candy. Let's get some sugar highs and milk the clock on this day. A Love is Blind reunion. It was wild last night. 90 minutes of pure chaos. Nick Lachey over-hosted. Too many puns, but we're going to get into it. Here's what I do. I take notes. I read them back to you. No edits, no jump cuts. My thoughts of what the heck went down. So why don't we break it down? We'll start with Taylor and Garrett, and Ashley and Tyler are the only married couples from the batch, right? So, they talk about who took who fishing, standard BS stuff you talk about before you get into the goods. But boy, not a bad glow up over here from old Garrett boy. Is this Garrett? Do I have the right name? Isn't it amazing with men what a little bit of hair can do? We can't contour, we can't do get ready with me videos, but we can go from looking like just a random guy who works in computers to, a Disney prince. I mean, this guy's really got it going on there. Who knows? All right. So anyway, they're married. They're looking good. Unbelievably beautiful. Dimples, freckles, the whole 9 yards. And of course, unbelievable, which by the way, we will get to what Tyler said. Unreal, that he had to respond in the way that he did, but audiences have proved they think they're smarter. They think they can find out the information sleuth. How dare him go on a show and talk about his sperm donating and this and that. So we'll get into all of that. So just hang tight. A lot to cover right here. So we start with Tyler and Ashley. They've been married for a year now. Ashley says she misses the bubble before people knew. That beautiful time before everyone could get into their business. Tyler says he donated sperm to help a friend and wife have children. So I don't know if I missed this or if he explicitly said it, but it sounds like there was a lesbian couple that needed sperm, and he said, "I got you, fam," and then the couple broke up. I think that's what happened, right? So the internet found the story, and they kind of jumped on it. He said the kids didn't sign up for this, even though their birth certificates are online. They drudged up all these things. He says his friend was alone after the breakup and needed help, so he stood up. He says he doesn't owe anyone an explanation but his wife. I'm tending to believe him. Is there more to the story that I'm missing here? I mean, people were telling me this is an awful guy. Maybe there is. Maybe you guys have done research that I haven't. I'm not too sure. But from the outside looking in, it sounds wildly reasonable, his story. Ashley said, "Who has better insight to what is going on, social media or me? It's insulting to my intelligence." He says he was trying to protect the children when he said, "They don't know what I look like." So I hope the internet feels really dumb. I hope people feel really stupid about this story. They go, "Well, we were going to expose him for being this crazy bad guy." And it's like, sure, a broken clock is right twice a day, but so often people come together and they don't have all the facts. Now, with that said, if you guys know, in the Bachelor world, I've been covering the Clayton Echard, Laura Owens case. In that case, the internet actually came together to provide court documents and evidence and the real thing, not speculate. But it looks like the Love is Blind mob might have been a little premature speaking of sperm, a little premature in the way that they fished out this story. And again, maybe there's more to the story, I don't know, but that's what they shared. And I'm glad they gave him the platform to share that. So Ashley called it a once-in-a-lifetime love. Tyler says the best part of the relationship is the unconditional love. So very happy for them. All right, we're going to go to Ramses and Marissa. Where's Ramses here? Do I have a photo of Ramses? Nope, that's not him. Nope. There he is. All right. There they are. Red flag when Ramses called everything off. She says it felt like her heart was breaking all over again. He says he didn't want to leave anyone heartbroken. Marissa's mom, by the way, she looks great. Marissa's mom says she wanted to punch him in the throat, but says he did the right thing by calling it off. Yes, no punching in the throat. We don't need any of that. But I can understand the feeling. Nick Lachey tells her that she's beautiful and her energy is beautiful. Yeah, I actually said this in my notes early on. I think Marissa might have been my favorite conversationalist on the show. She was bubbly, outgoing, open. I mean, she was absolutely fantastic. Now, if a relationship's not going to work out, it's not going to work out. And honestly, when you talk about love is blind, you kind of have to have blind faith when you run into these relationships. We'll get into that with Nick and Hannah, but you kind of have to say you're falling in love before you meet. I mean, what do you want to do? Just look at each other and go, no, not going to happen. You give it your best shot, the old college try. And then afterwards, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But that's why the show's pretty successful, because it's pretty dramatic. So he did a good job owning his part. Nick Lachey tells her, we got that. Bliss and Zach share their story. We love Bliss and Zach. Their daughter, Galileo, is the first baby of Love is Blind. And his story makes me cry every time. I'm sorry. I cannot talk about his story without it tearing me up. There's, him, his mom, how, he's kind of, I don't know, the whole thing. I would be very bummed out to find out that he was like a bad guy or whatever, because you see a guy who looks like he really wants to do best. All right, so let's go to Hannah and Nick. This is what the whole show's about, right? Hannah and Nick. There they are. She's got the photo waving in his face. You don't come on here. They actually did a really good job of keeping it calm until they didn't. They kept it was calm until it wasn't. But a lot of exposing going on. So Hannah says she often sounds like a bitch and is aware she needs to be not so direct. Yeah, that's the problem with people. Oh, I was just being honest. No one wants you to be honest. We could all be honest. You know what the world would be like if we're all honest? It'd be a bunch of a-holes yelling at each other in line at a Starbucks. We need some decorum, excuse me. So Nick says she's entitled to her opinion, but some things she said didn't come across as true. He says they weren't on the same level intellectually or financially. Other dudes stick up for Nick, says he's had a ton of patience. Hannah says she's a big personality and says he did have a lot of patience. She says she is harsh, direct, and it's bad. All right, so we got all that. Hannah talks about her glow up, says she's been working on herself, didn't need to watch the show back to know that. Nick says Hannah is fantastic and getting way too much hate online. Well, look, I'll agree with one of those things. It seems as though she got way too much hate online. Now, to be quite honest, I hate to say, just get over it, but as someone who kind of followed the show surface level and didn't get into the threads, if you're not in the threads or, dealing with comments on Instagram, it doesn't affect your life at all. It's almost like fake, but I understand that it can feel real and that sucks. It seems as though what I'm about to share is that Hannah got more hate than Nick. And because of that, Hannah, Marissa, and her pals wanted to almost bring Nick down a peg just to say, hey, he's a POS too. And look, I don't think anyone comes across great, but when we get into the argument we're about to get into, which is you were only doing this to fame, it's like, I'm sorry, you're all there. You're all there. You're all equal participants in this let's go on this thing, in part for fame. Now, because listen, are you trying to tell me that not one of these people could have just met somebody out at the bar? I reject the premise that they're all there just for love and not anything else. I reject it. Don't buy it, which is fine. Well, I'm all, be there for fame. Who cares? You can be there for fame and love. Like, those two things are not mutually exclusive. Or are they? Anyway. So Hannah admits to reading his journal, which said he wanted to be the most famous person ever. He explains it was part of a 90-day goal book. So he says, I wrote that before I was even cast on the show. Now, look. Find me, where are my white ladies out there? Find me somebody who doesn't have some crazy stuff written in your vision board. I want to be sexy. I want toned abs. I want a man who's 6'5" in finance, whatever the hell you want. We all shoot for the stars. So for him to say, I don't know, famous, maybe fame is the wrong word, but I don't necessarily know if anything he did was not authentic to who he was going to be. And again, everyone went on the show. They all have headshots now. They're probably, a lot of them, repped by some entertainment agencies. So I don't know. I just don't buy it. Doesn't pass my sniff test. Also, no one's talking about the fact that she and her friends went into his journal. That's like really not good to do. That's not a good thing to do. So they grill Nick, but I'm like, let's see what the vision board looks like. Yeah, what do you have to say on your vision board? And then, by the way, is fame, I understand this idea, fame's terrible. Look, we live in a world where people will do what they can for opportunities. Okay. So if that means going on a show because you just feel like you're in a rut, you're late stage capitalism, you're a young millennial and you just feel like you can't catch up to rising home costs or whatever. Look, we're all in that boat. We're all in that boat. So I don't blame anybody who wants to go on a show, gain some Instagram followers, maybe get a podcast out of it and keep pursuing, whatever dreams they have in life. I don't care. That doesn't affect me. I think a lot of people will disagree with me on this, and that's fine. I just live in a world where it's like, look, who cares? Who cares? Like, that doesn't change anything she said or did. Now, her argument is going to be, well, he wasn't even into me at all. And my thought is, well, clearly he finally admits he didn't find her that attractive, which is fine. Isn't that the principle of the show, to see if love is blind? So he probably didn't want to have a shake moment where he goes, you know what? It's just, I don't want to spend the rest of my life with you. But I had to kind of come to those terms on my own speed. I don't know. Do I sound crazy? Hannah says she thinks Nick is a very calculated person. But anyway, Nick, what he said about the journal, he was like, look, it's irrelevant and meaningless. And he felt that Hannah knew how he felt. But then she said, well, why did you ask me if I was going to share it? So clearly it didn't make him look good. But at the end of the day, I also think he's like, yeah, I own it. So Steven breaks bro code and agrees that Nick called Hannah ugly off camera. And that was like supposedly a big deal to people. Look, I'm not surprised. He wasn't attracted to her. He didn't tell her that to her face from what we saw there. He confided in these other men. Wouldn't it happen the same way if the women were like, I'm just not, he doesn't make me feel a certain way. Again, just proves love is blind. Love is not blind. So then we have Marissa. She wants to bring Nick down because she got a bad edit in internet hate. Because Hannah got a bad edit with internet hate. And look, she's a friend of Hannah. She knows Hannah's a good person, but she also doesn't know necessarily the ins and outs of what Hannah was like there. Again, I'm not a big supporter of Nick. I watched this so surface level, but from the reunion, it's like, look, Nick said, I get it. You're going to stick up for your girl. So we don't blame Marissa there. And on the same token, Garrett stuck up for Nick. No big deal. Nick says he was underwhelmed at the Hannah reveal, but never called her a grenade. So, yeah, I don't know. They bring out Leo and Britney. I don't think I have a close-up of Leo and Britney, but where's Leo and Britney? Here they are. There they are. There's Britney. Where's Leo? There he is, right behind her. Leo says he overcooked it a little bit about the money talk. Tim calls Leo a misunderstood guy, super creative, and thinks out loud. Hey, good for Tim. Tim did a knockout job the way he presented himself, I thought. And I think Britney did a great job here with Leo. Listen, Britney wasn't that into Leo, Was Britney less into Leo than Nick was into Hannah? I don't know. I don't know how to rate that, but clearly she wasn't gonna, no amount of, Leo's glass bong money was gonna let Britney, stick around. Leo compares dating Britney and Hannah to food, pasta versus steak. Hey, look, I know they said don't do that, but that was a pretty good analogy. The idea where you're about to order, it's almost like too many options. You would have loved pasta, you would have loved steak, but because you have the option between the two, you're like, do I carbo load? Do I go keto? What are we going to do here? Either way. So I liked the analogy. I actually did. Leo says he's ashamed how delusional he was to call their breakup mutual, him and Hannah, and that he got dumped. Britney explains why they weren't invited to Mexico because their relationship was the weakest link. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Good on them. They say they talk every day. I don't know if that got enough love. I don't know if that got enough respect to be like, oh, that's good on them. They actually found a friendship from their bond. Whereas so many people's breakup is so personal, they never recover from that. But I thought that was good. All right, Steven's turn. Where's Steven? There he is over there. So we go to Steven's turn. He finds out he has sleep apnea. That's good to know. He says he took full responsibility for the text messages. Says he talked to Monica off camera. They met up for dinner, and he wrote a letter to Monica's parents to apologize because he felt bad. Then immediately she accuses him of doing that so he comes off and looks well. Oh, you only wrote the letter to my parents. Whatever. This is one of those things. So much happens on the show that will never, that is off camera, that we'll just never, ever understand why Like it's such a he said, she said. At least on The Bachelor, everything they say is done on camera. They're all mic'd up nonstop, but in this series, it's kind of a longer burn, so they're not mic'd up. And a lot of the scenes are recreated and taken out of context. So Steven says no one believes him, so why should he tell his story? He says nobody cares about his side of the story. My guess is that's in response to the relentless nature of the internet, whether it be Reddit, Instagram, is that people don't believe that his scenario wasn't any worse. Like they thought maybe there was more cheating that went on. I'm not really sure. He says he messed up, goes to therapy, and nobody cares. He says, how much more responsibility do I have to take? So look, I understand why he feels so futile with this, because it's like, this is how sort of villains are created, where they realize nothing they say or do is going to change the public's perception. So F it, whatever. And in some ways, that's not a bad place to live. To not live by the shackles of what the internet thinks of you, that's good. But to me, he sounds like a guy who might have issues with validation and insecurity and all that, which, by the way, absolutely a red flag. But, you know, there will come a time where he works on that, he realizes it, and he moves on. I remember in a past relationship, I got into a relationship, and then an ex texted me, hey, what are you doing? And then, whatever, we're talking. And then she found out, she was like, oh, you're with someone new? Then why are you talking to me? And I was like, well, I'm not doing anything sexual. I was like, oh, I didn't realize the boundary was that I shouldn't talk to. Like, you learn these things. And you might say, oh, he should know that. Yeah, sure. Okay, I hear you. But at the same time, like he said, he doesn't have a password on his phone. And if, he had no intention of doing anything wrong. Listen, I probably come off right now like I'm so apologetic to these guys. I'm just saying I have a core philosophy in life that I think everyone's trying the best with the information they have. Even if that means Nick is trying to get fame or Steven cross a line with what they call emotional cheating. Sure, but I still think they're all trying their best. Now, how could you say Steven was trying his best? No, of course, a moment of slip up. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not defensible, but this idea that he's a terrible person, no, not at all. He will redeem himself. It just might not be in the eyes of people who've already made their judgment. He says he entertained a conversation he shouldn't have. She says she appreciated that he was honest about his past cheating. And of course, that conversation was like something to do with, it was clearly flirty. Again, it was like you could look at the different levels of cheating and go, this was akin to going to a strip club and not having the permission of it's like crossing a line, but not in I don't know. Do you understand? It's some people might have gotten over it easier than others, and some people might not have. But for sure, I can understand why that would violate trust issues. Absolutely. And again, there'll probably be someone saying, oh, who's this alien on screen? You know what I mean? And I get it. But, we try our best here at this channel to see everyone's good side. And by the way, if you enjoy my conversation, I do a morning and afternoon episode every single day of the Rush Hour podcast. Maybe you're new because you haven't found me, because most of my videos are Bachelor related, but the podcast is all pop culture, Dancing with the Stars, Bachelor, even election coverage. We're doing it all. So if you want bite-sized content, 2 25-minute episodes every day, scan that QR code or search The Rush Hour with Dave Neal. All right, there's your nice little update there. All right, let's bring it on home. So Alex and Tim. I don't think I've got a photo of Alex and Tim. Where are they? Those are the new people there. Where are they, Alex and Tim? So, okay. There we are. Okie dokie. So, and then there's Bliss's baby. Do we have Zach? There's Zach. Okay, very cute. Tim says he knows he's a 6-foot-tall black man and didn't want to fight on camera. I absolutely love the way this man talks. Look, I don't know what happened off camera, but I think you can clearly see the bitterness that exists between the two. They started saying, he started by saying, I loved you. You were great. Clearly this and that. And then it kind of just faded from there. He says he hates the fact that their worst moment is the one they show the most. She says it's clear that she wasn't physically assaulting him. She says she was trying to prevent production from intervening, that being when she put her hand on his face. So he agrees to that, which is good. I guess there was a lot of confusion as to what the heck was going on there. She says she says that he acted like a little ass bitch. So she called him a little ass bitch. And then he said, why would you say that to a grown man who is trying to love you? Now, my thought on that, whenever we say people are trying the best with the information they have, my thought on that is that I have compassion for Alex, that she wasn't able to access deeper emotions. So she went to a very surface level, oh, you're being a bitch. This could be something that we see a lot in society. It's easier to call someone a bitch, male or female, than it is to say exactly why you feel hurt, you know? So that's where she was at. And hey, what do we know? He could have emotional attachment issues. So when she needed alone time, she didn't properly communicate that. And he thought he was part of the problem. So he was, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? So I'm not taking sides one way or the other. He says, you know, but he wanted to know, like, why would you call me that? And again, if I were him, I would learn, don't take that personally. It says more about the other person than it does about you. But, you know, it's tough out there because on one hand, we see people saying, oh, I want people to open up and share their emotions. Sometimes they do, and then they get called a whiny ass bitch. It's like, what are you going to do? He says the engagement ended because he didn't get the respect from her that he was giving. That's where ego gets involved. If it's a respect thing, look, I understand. At some point, you just have to say, no, I'm not doing this. He wanted to be treated a certain way that she wasn't going to treat him. Either he finds someone who treats him that way, or he adjusts the ego. And maybe it's a little bit of both. What do I know? Oh, we just lost camera. My camera's gone, folks. Hold on. We're having a real rough day. We have to go to our other camera. There I am. Oh no. Where am I? Oh boy. We're having quite the tech day here on Halloween. So we'll go to that camera and we'll finish this puppy up. Then we have Garrett and Taylor, and says they are moving to D.C. after a year of traveling. They tried San Diego, but too far from family. How do you guys feel about that? I think as long as they're on the same boat, what do I care? Moving for somebody else is so tough because if you don't like it, it's a whole thing. But, my wife and I just moved to a new city, and I think we've adjusted really well, all things considered. So I understand it can be tough to move. But anyhow, look, this was a lot to cover. A lot. I would love to know your thoughts. Keep it kind. We're trying our best. And I hope everyone has a happy Halloween. I'll see you on the podcast, The Rush Hour with Dave Neal. Bye.